I sat down with Gladiator II production designer Arthur Max and costume designer Janty Yates to discuss how they helped Ridley Scott bring ancient Rome to life. Now, Max is no stranger to bringing historical stories to life on screen. He was nominated for Best Art Direction for his work on the first Gladiator film. With nearly a quarter of a century between the original film and the sequel, I was eager to learn about how the advancement in technology and techniques differed between the two productions.
The first one was mostly a handmade film in terms of all the set construction, monumental statues. All of that was executed by old-fashioned, traditional handmade techniques. 25 years later, not only did we extend sets to a greater degree digitally, but we also used all the new digital fabrication tools, such as computer-controlled cutting machines, water jet and laser cutting.
And one of the most important aspects when recreating Rome and building out the sets was scale. Max and Scott really wanted to enlarge the canvas using entire sites on location like Morocco and Malta. The size of the sets enhanced the attention to detail, including the statues, buildings, streets, and of course the Colosseum. The construction process went through many phases. The naval battle in particular inside the Colosseum is one of the highlighted action sequences. The ancient amphitheater, flooded with water and battleships, wasn't created in a traditional way. Everything on set needed to be raised about 2 meters to accommodate the flood, and the main entry archway was lifted 6 meters to allow the boats to enter the arena. There were even separate staging areas for different shooting purposes.
In consultation with visual effects, they prefer to do all the wide shots in the dry. From their perspective, it was easier to put the water in post than it was to put all the architecture in. So we manipulated the boats on the main set in the dry, and then we built a smaller piece about half a mile down the road at the Mediterranean Film Studio, which has an enormous tank. And there we put in the Emperor's box with some adjacent seating tiers and did all the wet work for the action of people, falling into the water or underwater cameras in the studio tank. Mind you, the illusion that the Colosseum was filled with water was promoted by the waterspout heads of Neptune, which we put into the dry set and had circulation tanks just underneath them that cycled the water through the spout and back again. So it looked like it was actually filling. And these tanks were below the water line, so they were taken out digitally when the water was put in.
Now, you mentioned walking through Rome and just seeing the ruins was kind of a source of research for historical accuracy for you. What were some of the other influences and inspirations you had when designing these sets?
Well, we always go back to the Orientalist and Romantic painters of the 18th and 19th century, especially Jean-Léon Gérôme, who was the initial inspiration for Ridley to do the project on Gladiator. His famous painting, Pollice Verso, which means thumbs down. We emulated the feel of that and the color scheme and, to a large extent, the architectural detail that was in that painting, as it was so perfectly evocative.
Now, let's talk about the costumes. In ancient Rome, clothes didn't just serve a function. They signified rank, power, and social status. And in a story about power, loyalty, strength, and honor, the process of designing styles was crucial to bringing these characters to life. Janty Yates did an amazing job. She won Best Costume Design for Gladiator and is again nominated in 2025 for Gladiator II. Now, in my conversation with Janty Yates, I learned that Ridley Scott's passion for artists, writers, and historians were key in the details of the wardrobe.
The big one who was a huge influence on us and production design was Alma Tadema, who is a wonderful artist of the late 19th century. And he would just create all these Roman visions that we use the costume reference. You just walk through Rome and you're just meeting a million different statues. And that's marvelous for drapage.
The great Denzel Washington's character, Macrinus, was particularly challenging to design.
We went to a more Moorish look. He didn't want to go too African. He didn't want to have a turban. We gave him some costume to literally rehearse in at home. And he came on set I couldn't believe the way he handled his costumes. As if he'd worn them all his life. It was fantastic how he would approach wearing a toga, how he would, always wore the earrings, which I loved. So he created, out of what we gave him, we created his own strong character.
She's one of the great ones. I mean, look at me. I just put the clothes on and do my part.
The two crazy and wild emperors, Geta and Caracalla, played by Joseph Quinn and Fred Heckinger, were inspired by 1970s British punk rock and flamboyance.
Well, Ridley gave me the lead there because he said he wanted them to look like Johnny Rotten from the Sex Pistols. And so I just put layer on layer, gold on gold, and then some more gold, and then some gold trim.
Lucilla, played by Connie Nielsen, was the only returning actress from the original film. Yates not only wanted to change Lucilla's look, but also reinvent it.
We did her very haute couture, very beautiful, simple, but, like Madame Grey and Vionnet. We went for the first fitting, and Connie didn't like it, I didn't like it, and Wrigley didn't like it. So we went back to the drawing board, and we just draped her. We just added, she just wears them so well. She's so beautiful, 59. She's 6 foot tall with the most wonderful bone structure. And it's like dressing, clothes horse. It's wonderful.
Paul Mescal's character, Lucius, is the central focus of this film, a journey of growth, leadership, and love. And to tell that story, there needed to be an evolution of his wardrobe.
I can tell you that the Numidian armor was bon marché. It was cheaper and it was threads of leather. And they did all the Numidian armor like that. Then he moves to, when he goes to Macrinus's slave holding place, he wears, it's actually green, his cuirass. And it's a dark green, so it reads actually as dark brown or, more or less black. And he has on Macrinus's standards and pennants was the snake that is intertwined, and that is on his cuirass. And then, of course, he, becomes a little more important.
The collaboration between all departments was truly needed in telling this epic story. The hours, weeks, months, and even years of preparation and work was seen in the execution of the film and in every detail. And this is how, with the help of the dedicated and talented crew, Ridley Scott brought ancient Rome to life. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more exclusive behind-the-scenes insights to some of the greatest TV shows and films.